Do you really believe that?
Minister, man.
Hallelujah,
and we're called according to his purpose. So, Father, we thank you. Not only do you do all things well, but since that is the case and we know it, we just simply make the declaration then that all is well. Life is good, and all is well. Amen. So look at the being next to you and say, you know what? You just look like a blessing. Tell them, you look wonderful to me. You look prosperous to me. You look healed and whole to me. You look bountiful to me. You look brilliant to me. You look powerful to me. And since my eyes are not crazy, what I see has to be true. Now touch and agree with the person next to you. Hug them, do something, high five them. Just touch the blessing of God that is there right next to you. Well, I'm not going to labor with this very much. As you know, I've been, again, trying to work my way through this little flu thing. And those who know me well know that I don't sit well. So I'm attempting to do things appropriately. It's been a challenge to do that. But because I don't want sickness to visit me long, I have to take my time and serve its eviction papers. Absolutely. And so I'm going to attempt to not exert a lot of energy, but I want to push this out of me. Where we've been for the last 3 weeks now, as we are re-examining this notion of living by faith. We've been re-looking at this because I'm very concerned with some of the ideas that float around with what it means to live by faith and walk by faith, because if you listen to some people, faith is not really something you really won't have to walk by or have to live by, because it seems like if you listen to them long enough, to live by faith, you have to sit around and do nothing and have no sense of idea of what's going to happen with your life and just hope everything going to be all right. And we call that living by faith. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to just walk by faith. And sadly, most times when they say that, what they really mean is, I'm walking in circles, accomplishing nothing and going nowhere. And I'm just not convinced that that is walking by faith at all. Because I read the Bible. When I read, I find interesting things. And so we're going to review the last couple of weeks, just very quickly, breeze through a couple of things, and then I want to push us further. If you notice, we keep inching our way. We're going a little deeper, and we're going to have a full picture here before it's all said and done. Are we ready? Yeah. So we started talking at least about Mark chapter number 5, Mark chapter number 10, Luke 8 and Luke 17, where both of these stories relate to Yeshua, Latin Jesus. He sees these individuals and they have a dis-ease. Everybody say dis-ease. They have a dis-ease. And with this dis-ease, they desired to be healed. And it's interesting that in both of these cases, you will discover that he says to them after the whole encounter, he doesn't say to them, I healed you. He doesn't ego stroke, himself and says, look at me, you see, he didn't look at the disciples and elbow and say, y'all see how I did that? You see how your boy, that's what I do. No, he didn't do any of that. he looks at the individuals and he makes an affirmation in their lives. And in their lives, he says to them, your faith has made you whole. And so he doesn't say what I did, it's what your faith has caused you to be a recipient of. It's what your faith has accomplished. And then we also find the word go. And so as we looked at all that, we realized that faith has something to do with manifestation and movement. Okay? And so we understand that we walk by faith. Are you here? We walk by faith, and it's not sitting around doing nothing, because the Bible also says faith without words is dead. So that's not where it's at, doing nothing. That doesn't work either. And what we ended up concluding was that faith is spiritual perception of what God has already done. Yes. Okay, now where do we get that from? We get that from Hebrews chapter number 11. You don't have to turn there, but here it is up there. Now faith is the substance. Everybody say substance. Substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. We skip down to verse number 3, and we find out that through faith we understand the worlds are framed by the word of God. So two things that we know here, that faith is substance. Everybody say substance. And then we see that it's through faith we understand. Say understand. Therefore, beloved, what we concluded, and this is just review, we're going to push forward. Faith is not an object that you use. Faith is an observation you understand. All right. It's an observation through which you understand or stand under. One more time. So faith is not an object that I use. I don't just throw my faith out there and just hope for it. No. Faith is an observation that I come to understand. I get some clarity. But it's not only gives me understanding, but it also gives me what is necessary that I might stand under it. Faith. I'm trying my best here. Faith gives me the ability to stand no matter what I see in the natural. Why? Because I'm able to understand something beyond the confines of limited perception. You tracking? Okay. Now this is supposed to be reviewed. Now, if you missed me for a few weeks, you might wait a minute. Okay, yes. So faith is an observation you understand. I was doing some reading, and I ran across one of my books that I have by Dr. Miles Monroe, and he makes this statement that I said, yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to convey. He said, in the kingdom, faith is not about how much you have, but it's about where you place it. God doesn't say, have a lot of faith, and I'll just like that. So, you had faith, you was going to get whatever, and then you didn't get it. Oh, you didn't have enough faith. If you would have had more faith. See, it's not about how much you have, but it's where you place it. Come on, Jesus. Jesus said it this way, have faith in God. See, it's where you place it. I don't put my faith in the stuff. I put my faith in God. You're not hearing me. I don't put my faith in the things. I put my faith in God. And if God releases the things, I say thank you. And if God doesn't release the things, there's a reason why you chose not to. You knew that you need to have something better, or you knew that was not going to work. So I thank you anyway, because my faith is not in the stuff. On Christ, the solid rock. It's not in the things. It's in God. Have faith. Let me see. These boys. I just want to go here one time. Now I'm going to move on. These boys happen to be fellas of real prayer. intercession and worship. They're not just a bunch of guys running around wanting to have praise breaks, but they were really serious about the things of God. And so these guys were put in a corner, and they were told that they were going to have to change up how they do things, you see. And then this guy says, well, tell you what, no, we're not going to do that because we're clear as it relates to our God. And then the dude that he started threatening him, he said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We got this little stove over here, and we're going to turn the fire up 7 times hotter, and we're going to throw you in there if you don't do things the way you should be tracking with me by now. We're going to throw you in there if you don't do things the way we want it done. And they said, hey, sir, Nebuchadnezzar, we got some news for you. The God that we serve is able to deliver us from out of your hand. And they said, well, hold on. I'm going to tell you one more thing. Somebody said one more thing. And even if he don't, watch this. People will misquote it and they'll say that they said, even if he don't, he's not able. That's not what they said. They said, even if he don't, we still not bound. So their commitment and their faith was not in deliverance. If their faith would have been in the deliverance, oh boy, then they would have said, well, he don't do it no matter what. But they said, even if he don't do it, our faith is in God. So if he kills in the fire, that's all right. And if he preserves us in the fire, that's all right. Whatever God does, faith gives you the ability to dispatch things prematurely. What do you mean? Because the Bible said them boys were in there walking around and they looked and said there was a fourth one in there and he looked like the Son of God. Wait a minute, he ain't coming for a whole nother 1,000 years. Yeah, but when this faith gets to working, stuff will get dispatched. I don't get ahead of myself. Come on, Adam. Come on. So it's not about how much you have. It's about properly placing your faith. Because faith will not keep you from hardships. In this world, Yeshua says, you will have tribulation. You will have, I feel like I'm going to preach this sickness right up off me. You will have tribulation. But be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. Oh, really? So, why don't you just take this hardship away? You know what I mean? Since you might as well just don't even have no problems. No challenge. Hook me up like that. Watch. There's this guy. His name was, are y'all okay? There's this guy, his name was Simon Peter. And Jesus looks at him and he says, Simon, the devil desires to sift you like wheat. And, I don't think that's such a bad idea. But here's what I'm going to do, though. He says, I don't think that's such a bad idea, but I'm going to pray for you that your faith fails not. And when you're converted, watch it. He doesn't say, I pray that your faith fail not so you don't have to go through the sifting. No. Your faith is what's going to take you through the sifting. And if your faith don't fail, it's not if you're converted, it's when you're, oh baby, hear me. Faith says not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when. It's only a matter of time. Faith says, does not matter what it looks like. I don't know if you're listening. I don't know. So Mark 11:22. Have faith in God. Have faith in God. Now, let me finish with that. We read over to Romans chapter number 1, verse 17. For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith. The just shall live by. Well, if I have to live by this, I might want to get this right. Are you listening to me? It means that this faith thing must be important. It also suggests that this faith thing is what separates me from living like other people live. Because it says the just. So there's a certain kind of people who live according to a certain economy that has been established, and the commerce in this economy is called faith. Okay, so faith. I got to get this right then. We walk by faith, not by sight. Okay, it's important for me to know. How do I get it? Romans 10:17. So then faith cometh by hearing. Now we're getting where we got to go today. And hearing by the word of God. And it's from there that I began last week, the week before, trying to push us toward understanding what I've called the quadrant of unfoldment. How this faith thing and this unfolding just life thing works. We began with the word precept. Precept. Oh, that's too tiny to see. Oh, have mercy. Well, just I know what's up there. All right. Precept. Precept. Everybody say precept. A precept is, remember this, a general rule intended to regulate behavior or thought. A general rule intended to regulate behavior or thought. So the way this works, John 1 helps us understand the precept. Because if I don't get the precept right, it throws everything else off. The precept that is to establish and govern how I think and how I function. John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word. Okay? The Word was with God, and the Word, come on, talk to me, and the Word was God. So I have to understand the precept. And we spent time on that, so I don't want to work on that entirely too much. We then went to Ephesians chapter number 1, verse 3 through 6. Listen to it. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing in heavenly places in Christ, just as he chose us in him before the foundation of the world. Chose us in him before the foundation of the world. Chose us when? Before the foundation of the world. That is the precept. Yes. Okay, so the precept is the logic of God, the logos, the logic of God is established before everything gets started. And you, every person in this room, are chosen in him before everything gets started. And I gave you the example of how when they write a movie, they do not begin with scene 1 writing the movie. They go all the way to the end to decide where they want this movie to land. Once they know that, then they work their way backwards, and then they say, now this would be a good place to start because we know where we're going. If we would have started here, we could have ended up anywhere. But because we began with the end in mind, we now know we can start right here and get to where we're headed. And that's exactly what God has done with your life.
trying to figure, or you might be trying to figure you out, but God is not trying to figure you out. You were already taken care of before you ever got started. I know the thoughts, Jeremiah 29:11. I think toward you, said God, they're thoughts of good and not of evil. God is not making up his mind about you. God has already made up his mind about you. And he says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. He says you are the head and not the tail. He says no weapon formed against you can prosper. He says you're blessed going out and blessed coming in. He says you are the apple of his eye. You got to figure out what are you going to agree with, circumstance or what he said. So then, Paul goes on to say, he has also not just chosen us before the foundation of the world. This is Ephesians chapter 1. You can read this on your own time, if you will, but I'll write it down or something. Just keep up with this one because this is good stuff. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 3 through 6. In verse 5, he turns around and says, he's also predestined us to adoption as sons by Jesus Christ to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. That'll be important later. To the praise of his glory, of his grace by which he has made us accepted. And this is where we got lost last week. He had made us accepted in the beloved. So, the precept is, he chose me, adopted me, accepted me, before he ever got me started. So Paul comes along and says, so here's what I suggest you do. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your body. One more time. The precept says, you're chosen, you're adopted, you're accepted. You are the good pleasure of his will. So Paul says, what I would recommend you do then, if you want everything around you to understand how powerful you are, don't present yourself as weary, worn, and sad. Don't present yourself as always got to go through. Don't present yourself as dumb and mess up all the time. Don't present yourself as too fat, too skinny, too tall, too short. Present your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. Man, you got to get out of this walking around with your head down, thinking that God mad at you. You got so much you got to prove, and you got to do it. No. He has already pre-selected me before I got started. Therefore, I'm going to select myself. He chose me, now I choose me. And if you got good sense, you choose me too. Watch. Because faith without works is dead. So I got faith. I'm chosen. I'm selected. I'm accepted. No, I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody who's dead in money. All right. Dead. But you know what the challenge is? Your neighbor can't walk around with the head up high and speak with authority and confidence. Why? Because they're too busy calculating and keeping score. They know what they did yesterday, wrong. They know what they did wrong day before yesterday. They know who they cussed out. They know what they did the other day. They know what happened when nobody was around. And because they're keeping up with all of this, they start walking around believing. I have a question for you. Do you walk by faith? Or do you walk by sight? Are you here? How else do you think you're going to overcome crazy you until you fall in love with accepting you? Okay. All right, let's go right there. So you just gonna keep on fighting you, and 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 you just gonna stay in all this warfare for the rest of your life. When you could have ended the battle a long time ago by simply doing what the book said. What do you mean? The book said, fight the good fight. There's only one fight that's a good one. Trying to fix you and get you better and take care of your issues is not a good fight. But when you walk in faith that says, I am what he says I am, I'm above only and not beneath. I'm blessed going in, I'm blessed going out. Yeah, I do some stuff every now and then that's old me, but this brand new me, come on, Paul. If any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. All things are passed away. All things become, I walk by. What? This didn't go nothing like I thought it was going to go. If I can learn, I finish. If I can learn, if I could just learn how to quit thinking about what people got to say, if I could just learn to stop calculating how much is in the bank, if I could just learn that I'm better than what you see, I'm more, and that God is ready to release at any point all that goodness towards me, because it's the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom if I could just believe it.
Thank you, God.
Why don't you fight a good fight? Why don't you? The fact that he marked it a good fight means that all other fights are bad.
All right.
He tells you the winning fight. He tells you how you win in life. You ain't got to cheat no more. Spiritual perception of what God's already done. What he's already done. And you, as far as he's concerned, already done. You're just in time walking it out. But if you just keep on walking, if you stop letting people talk you out of it, and just keep on walking. I know what happened last month, but if you just can keep on walking. And the beauty of this walk, man, is it don't matter how fast you walk, just walk. I might got a limp, but at least I'm walking. I got down to a knee, but man, I can still crawl my way through this thing. And what I've discovered is the more I walk, the more strength I get, and the next thing I know, my walk turns into a bit of a run, and after a while, I won't just be running, but I'll feel it running. I'm not up when it weeds like it. I just have to have faith. Well, I was going to talk about I'm expecting. But you know what? I did. Because you know for yourself that when you really believe, you act different. When you really have faith, you talk different. When you really have faith, you walk different. There's a demeanor that comes on you. I can tell by your persona, your countenance. You walk around looking all sad. Where your faith at? You walk around looking all defeated. Where's your faith at? You walk around looking like you need somebody to help you do something. What is your faith?
have faith in God. Everybody stand. Have faith in God. Have faith in God. But things didn't go the way I expected. You weren't to have faith in things going the way you expected. Have faith in God. Why should I have faith in God? When God let this happen, God did. See, people may have taught you some stuff about God that might not be God.
All right.
But this song just said, He does all things well. So all you have to do is lift up your head, square your shoulders, get some confidence, because you got a secret agent. All that stuff going on the outside of you won't be able to phase you, because it can't get to what's on the inside of you. People look at what's going on around you. How you still standing out? How you making it? You lost that job 3 months ago. Your spouse walked off and left you. Your loved one just died. And you acting like all things are well. Well, I know what you're going through. No. You got one word wrong. I'm not acting at all. But I know something. I have faith in God. I'm going to be all right. Come what may. I'm going to be all right. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Matter of fact, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, because I have faith in God. So, Father, over these last few fleeting moments, I gave all that my strength would allow me to give in this house. And I pray for
every person in this room, that their faith will be so strong and their faith will be so stirring that they will walk around rejoicing at all times, knowing all things are working together. All things are well. That all things are beautiful, including themselves. Thank you for being the Almighty God. Thank you for being the everlasting Father. Thank you for being the one that we lean on and depend on. You are our shepherd. We shall not want. We give you praise. We give you praise. And the joy of the Lord is our strength. Christ is King forever and ever and ever and ever. And everybody said, amen, amen, and amen. Listen to me real fast before you go. She mentioned at 7:15 on Tuesday night, we are on the Divine Life Facebook page.